Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, guys, let's move on over to the NBA. After our show last Friday, the NBA dropped the 2020 game schedule for the restart. The 22 teams in Orlando for the playoffs will play 8 games that will count as regular season games and be factored in for seeding. Each team knows all 8 of their opponents and when they'll face them. Jazz Pelicans and Clippers Lakers gives us a doubleheader on July 30th. Then up to 7 games per day across 3 venues will take place every day from the 31st of July until August 14th. So we have the schedules here, Jay. At first glance, what teams made out the best, the worst in regards to their schedule?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with the teams, before my blood pressure start rising. Let's go ahead and start with the teams. They have a difficult road. There's a few of them. You talk about, I'm looking at the Lakers right off the jump, and I was trying to explain this a little bit earlier, but the Lakers, top 3 team in this league easily. They've been the best team wire to wire in the West. So although they only get one game against a sub 500 team, that would be the Kings' last game of their road. They're still vastly superior to every other team on this schedule, minus the Clippers. I put the Clippers right neck and neck with them at this stage. So they get the Clippers up front. Then they get Toronto, Utah, OKC, Houston, Indiana, and Denver. So all those teams are going to be in this thing when it's all said and done. So that's a difficult road. But we also got to remember they got a 5.5 game cushion on the Clippers for the top seed. So, and again, I talked about this in the last show. With no Avery Bradley, this would be a great opportunity for Frank Vogel to fiddle with his rotations, see what guys he can trust, see how he wants to distribute those minutes that Bradley used to have. We know we're going to see more of Caruso. I assume we're going to see more of KCP. Also got to see how we get these new guys, that old fabled duo of J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
Must watch TV.
We'll see how it goes. But then again, I'm also looking at Denver. Denver's got a bit of a little rough stretch here. They do get the Spurs and Blazers, but as far as teams that when we talk about that are doormats in this thing, I mean, it's not Phoenix and it's not Washington. I mean, we know Popovich is going to have them Spurs competing with LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan leading the way. And, of course, Portland's got a sense of urgency now. I did actually read something to say that old Nurkic will be back playing. So we got to take them them somewhat
and old
seriously.
Collins.
Yeah, and Zach Collins, him too. So they got some height in there. But then Miami, OKC, Utah, they got to play the Lakers and the Clippers, and they have the defending champion Raptors. So the Nuggets, they got a bit of a difficult road as well. Phoenix, just want to wish you guys good luck. You get one game against a sub-500 team, so you better beat the Wizards and get off to a good start. Because if you don't, it'll be a short stay at whatever that one hotel is. That's where them guys are going to be a 1 to 2 week stay, and then they can get out of here. But it's the main point of this, which is the easy schedule. And as soon as one of the things I was looking at right off the jump that I wanted to see was how did the Pelicans end up in their schedule against what Memphis was going to get. And I must tell you, the Pelicans, as I suspected, I didn't want to see this, but I suspected I might. The Pelicans got off so easy, it don't even make no sense. They get the Jazz and Clippers right off the bat, and I'm not even convinced that Jazz game is going to be all that difficult. I don't know that I'd probably flip a coin on that game at this point. We know Bogdanovich ain't there, and I know Donovan Mitchell has said recently that, hey, me and Gobert, we're fine now. Well, yeah, I'll believe when I see it. But then they get the Clippers after that. But then after that, it's a cakewalk. You get Memphis, you get Sacramento, you get Washington, then you get San Antonio, you get Sacramento again, and then you get Orlando. There's a lot of winnable games in there. I think if the Pelicans can't find a way to go 5-3 at least, they don't deserve to be in this thing at all. But we also got to remember, I don't understand why. And I'm not saying the NBA purposely did this, although that looks like what has happened here. I don't know why the NBA had to schedule the Pelicans so easily, because remember, if the 9 seed, when it's all said and done at the end of the schedule, is within 4 games of the 8 seed, there's going to be a play-in runoff type thing where they play a couple games and see who gets the 8 seed. So they didn't even have to do this, but to juxtapose that against what Memphis is going to be facing, and the first 3 games for each team are going to be really telling, because if New Orleans can survive that first 3 games against Utah, the Clippers, and the Grizzlies, they're going to be in great shape for the rest of those 5 games. And meanwhile, Memphis, on the other hand, they definitely need a good start. They get Portland and San Antonio before they meet the Pelicans, and then it gets tough. You get Utah, OKC, and then you get the best 3 teams out east. No picnic there with the Raptors, Celtics, and the Bucks. It's going to be tough to stack some wins late for the Grizzlies, while the Pelicans, you would assume, looking at the back half of their schedule, they should be rolling in wins.
Yeah, so this whole thing, right? I just feel like the NBA doing too much. Like, we got a whole lot going on. You got, if you within 4 games and you the 9 seed, you get to play in and play the 8. You got this is a lot. I feel like this is like the state circus. Like, what are we doing here? We got a whole lot going on for some minimal entertainment. Here's the deal. Let's answer your question, right? Which team had got the best schedule? New Orleans. Like, they got the best schedule. Who has the worst? The fans. Because half of these teams we shouldn't even be looking at. Like, let's be real here. There's a whole lot of teams here that I'm looking at, and I'm like, why are we wasting our time looking at this bull job? Because this is bull crap right here. Like, Kings, Spurs, Suns, go home. Early dismissal. Just go home. Wizards, Magic, hold on. Yeah, all right, Magic, you good. Wizards, get out of here. Like, what? This is crazy to me. I just don't understand why they invited 22 teams. And then when you look at the caliber of teams from 19 to 22, what are we talking about here? What? This is normal NBA stuff to me. If you wasn't good enough to make the playoffs, you go home early. Yet and still, I got to watch the NBA with the old screw job over here with the Pelicans, hooking them right on up. The old Jeffrey Epstein right here, just showing a blind eye to just blatant abuse. That's what the NBA got going on over here. Like, we can't see what's going on. You don't got evidence what's going on. What are we doing here? What are you trying to do? Get the Grizzlies out the way? Oh, because the Grizzlies got, Ja Morant, and the Pelicans got Zion. Okay, I see where we're going here. Man, listen, this is bull crap, first and foremost. But for the sake of the segment, I guess I need to answer the question. The worst, I would, and like Jay said, it's kind of hard for me to pick the worst because as I look, the Lakers' schedule looks tough, but then it's the Lakers, right? Like, of course it looks tough, but then you look at the Lakers. Maybe I could say maybe a team like the Thunder got it tough. I mean, not Thunder, I'm sorry. The Nuggets got it tough. I'm looking at what they got to do. I'm not overly impressed with them right now. I don't think they have the same pop. For some reason, they don't have the same pop that they had last year. I don't know why. They got the same team as last year, but it doesn't – they don't move like they did last year. They was, like, impressive, exciting, upbeat. Millsap was the old man. He had them hooking and jiving. But now, you got Jokic out here. He done lost weight. I can't wait to see how he play when he gets back into it. But I'm looking. They playing the Heat, Thunder, Spurs, layup, Blazers, free throw. Then you got the Jazz. We don't know what we'll get out of the Jazz at the time. You got the Lakers. You're going to take the L for sure. You got the Clippers right after that. That's another L. And then you got Toronto. I'm gonna consider all 3 of those L's. So I think they might go 4-3 on this little stretch that I'm looking at right here. So I'm gonna go with the Jazz as far as having probably the hardest schedule because when I compare how they're playing to who they're playing, that's why I give it to them. But listen, overall, I keep looking at this and I just can't get over the fact this is a bunch of horse crap. Like, this is looking at a bunch of teams that shouldn't even be playing. And then when we get into this next segment, or the last segment, I should say, when we get into this last segment, it's just, what are we doing here? Like, I'm starting to think the NBA is not believing in the coronavirus at this point. Like, what are we doing here? You just, like, Teams getting sick for what? To do the same thing they would do on a normal season? In a normal season, they'll be at home on the beach or whatever. You bringing them to Orlando to do what? Hold the pom-poms? Make quota? Because they ain't winning no championship here, buddy. Like, what are we looking at? You telling me. You look at this. Look at the Spurs. Look at the Spurs schedule. What are we doing here? Who are they beating? This Spurs team. Oh, by the way, in the next segment, we're going to talk about a Spur, right, that don't even want to be there. I wonder why he don't want to be there. Because he's looking at the same thing I'm looking at. This is bullcrap. A waste of time.
Oh, God. I didn't even know that.
What are we doing here? I'm out here.
About it.
I'm done. I'm out.
Drake's out the building. He can't. He's done with the bubble. He's leaving.
No.
So from what we gather, the NBA did have to clarify how they made these schedules. So for a programming note, what they basically said was we looked at the games that the teams had left. They threw out the 8 teams that aren't participating at all, and they tried to make sure you had somewhat feasible matchups based off who you had left. And the Pelicans did have a bit easier road than these other 3 teams did, but boy, it does look a little bit skewed. And for whoever's keeping score happens to care about the 8th seed in the West, the Grizzlies hold a 3.5 game lead on the Blazers, Pelicans, and Kings, with needing to be within 4 for that play-in for the 9th seed. Now, if there's more than one team tied at the end, like it is right now, I have no clue what they're going to do. I assume all teams get a play-in. I don't know. But it's what it's supposed to be is the 8th seed plays the 9th seed, single elimination for the 8th seed, double elimination for the 9th seed, beating the 8th seed twice. We'll see how it goes.
That's a lot.
Kings also, the Kings and Pelicans definitely have an easier road, it would seem, than the Blazers or the Grizzlies do, for that matter. So if you're interested in that race, that's a note there. But that was essentially how they tried to format these schedules. It wasn't just 8 random teams drawn out of a hat, or Adam Silver just writing in whatever he wanted, although maybe they did, who knows. But the other thing we'll also note is they also, they're playing these games 7 games a day across these 3 venues, and each team is going to have 4 home games, 4 away games, and the tip-offs are set for the first 7 games of each team's schedule, but the 8th games are TBD based off of how the matchups go, who's in, who's out, all that stuff, so we could see some pretty fun games the last game of this, quote, regular season, and this is being counted as a regular season, and stats are being kept as a regular season, so we'll see how it goes, but this should wrap up by mid-August, and we'll have the playoffs on the 17th.
Tell me, how do we know who's home and away?
I guess you get simulated colors on the scoreboard.
You get a star on the court.
Maybe they do what they did in Korea, and they bring the sex dolls in, and they dress you up in whatever team colors. I don't know.
I regret asking that now. But hey, listen to this.
Hey.
Doesn't it seem strange, because you talk about the NBA trying to, in some way, shape, or form, go along and with the whatever teams had left up on their schedule? Mm-hmm. Why would you even go about the business of doing that if you're making up all this other stuff on the fly with your 4-game, 8-9 seed type thing? If you're going to make up that, you may as well just make up the matchups so it doesn't look like it's that skewed. I just find it hard to believe.
They tried to clarify, but like I said, it's very suspicious because they had a lot of caveats and thens and maybe buts. So I guess they wanted to make it look like your schedule would have looked, but
it's just like Drink said. It's just like Drink said earlier. We don't have no evidence that something shady going on, but we got suspicions, and I think based on what we're looking at, they're justified.
Yeah, I suspect we're going to get a Zion versus Ja play-in game. That's what I suspect.